There's long been a literary theory that there are only 7 basic plots, and that does explain why there are so many films with similar stories. Sometimes though, these similarities pass this point, and it becomes pretty reasonable to say that the plots have been stolen or at the very least heavily inspired by something else. We do think that in some cases the word stolen might come across a bit strong, but regardless, today at Screen Rant we're looking at 10 films that took their plots from elsewhere. Before we get started, make sure to click the red button to subscribe to us. You'll join the notification squad and be updated of our new videos. Also, can you guess what movie this is from the emoji? Let us know in the comments section below. The answer will be revealed at the end of this video, so stay tuned.
Oh no! The orphans!
Toy Story 3. When Toy Story 3 came out, everyone who watched the first films in the years after they came out cried their eyes out. We'd done the growing up and clearing out our kid stuff thing, or were doing it, and it really struck an emotional chord with us. Andy's toys trying to get back to him after thinking they've been abandoned by him is heart-wrenching. It kinda keeps the same formula as the first 2 films, with the toys fighting their way back after being separated. It shouldn't come as a surprise that the story has been told before, specifically in The Brave Little Toaster. In The Brave Little Toaster, a group of household appliances fight their way into the city to get back to their owner Rob, who's gone off to college and left them. In both, the characters almost die in junkyards. With the household appliances, they're almost crushed in a junkyard crusher, and the toys are nearly incinerated in what has to be one of the most terrifying scenes to have ever been in a movie. It's just awful. A lot of the people who worked on The Brave Little Toaster ended up working at Pixar, including on the Toy Story movies. We guess that makes it okay, and we love both films anyway.
You know, when you're the middle child in a family of 5 million, you don't get any attention. I mean, how's it possible?
Antz. Oh boy, did Antz come with a whole lot of baggage. It all dated back to a massive feud between Disney and DreamWorks, dating back to when Katzenberg left Disney after leadership struggles. As far back as 1988, Disney were developing a film about ant armies, which eventually led to A Bug's Life. When it was being made, Lasseter told Katzenberg all about it, and then all of a sudden, DreamWorks were making Antz. When Katzenberg left Disney, he took some of the concepts that he'd worked on with him, like an idea to make a movie about Moses, so he could have taken the ant story with him too. Both follow young male oddball ants who find a way to save their society and win over a princess. At DreamWorks, they made it into the much darker Antz, complete with moderate violence, sexual humor, and social and political commentary. At Pixar, they made it into a much more lighthearted A Bug's Life. Initially, Antz was due out the year after A Bug's Life, but after Disney refused to change its release date so it didn't clash with The Prince of Egypt, DreamWorks fast-tracked Antz to compete with it with a release just a month before A Bug's Life. Ouch. Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Atlantis: The Lost Empire is a mostly forgotten about masterpiece from that strange early 2000s era when Disney put out a couple of films that were completely different in tone, animation style, and story from their usual stuff, and it was fantastic. Atlantis was loosely based on the Jules Verne novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It follows an expedition team who go to find the lost city of Atlantis, which is buried underwater, but it also seems to have been heavily inspired by something else, Nadia: The Secret of Blue Water, a Japanese TV show which is also inspired by the novel. The shared story inspiration means that there will already be a lot of similarities. It's just a given. There are a lot of similarities that can't really be chalked up to that though, like the fact that both have female leads who wear mystical blue crystals. That's something that wasn't in 20,000 Leagues. When questioned on the possible plagiarism, director Kirk Wise claimed he hadn't heard of the show until long after Atlantis was made, and that similarities were due to shared source material. As we stated, there's a lot of stuff that's too similar to just be a coincidence, so we'll leave that one up to you.
I know, I'm an idiot.
And
A real numbskull.
And
A selfish diaper baby.
Wreck-It Ralph and Taxi Driver. We know this one sounds mad, but bear with us. Ralph is an arcade game villain who's sick of being lonely and sets out to convince the other characters that he can be a hero too. He's nice, but called Wreck-It Ralph for a reason. And this is already a strange comparison to Travis, a depressed Vietnam veteran. Their stories share a constant parallel.
You talking to me?
They hate that their jobs have come to define their lives, but when they talk to their colleagues about it, they're just told to get over it. Ralph tries to make it into the main game character society, but he's clumsy and ruins it, just increasing his villain status. Both characters even spy on people, but Ralph is a lot less creepy. Both realize part of their issues lie with violence, and with Hazy intents of getting medals, Ralph joins a war game, and Travis gets a gun. Then they're both sidetracked by an outcast young girl, who they end up becoming friends with and rescuing. In Ralph's case, this girl is Vanellope, a girl in a racing game who's banned from racing by King Candy. Ultimately, both end up saving the girls and the day, becoming heroes in the process. We aren't sure we can watch Wreck-It Ralph with the same eyes ever again.
Hello, my tasty little friends.
Tappy Toes. Tappy Toes is one of those mockbuster short films that exist solely in order to capitalize on the success of an existing and successful film. One pops up for most films, to the annoyance of parents everywhere who fell for it. Tappy Toes was even released the same month as Happy Feet 2 for this very reason. We all know the story of Happy Feet, where a penguin drops his egg and his son Mumble is born without the all-important ability to sing, but he's an amazing dancer instead. It leads to him being mocked and leaving the group, and also risks any chance he has at love, because penguins sing a heart song to find their soulmate. Luckily, he gets the girl because he can dance to her heart song. Tappy Toes doesn't entirely copy this plot, but the intent is pretty obvious. The main penguin, Pingo, whose name sounds suspiciously like the stop-motion clay penguin Pingu, actually finds and wears tap shoes that somehow fit his feet. They help him to save his community from an evil hermit crab in ways that we don't fully understand, but they also help him dance his way to love. We don't think we need to explain the similarities here. Chop Kick Panda. Oh look, another mockbuster. The idea of an animal doing martial arts is hardly new. In fact, it's ancient. There are even types of kung fu that are named after different animals, like the crane, tiger, snake, monkey, and mantis. These all come to life in Kung Fu Panda, as the animals are these animals and use these styles. In that sense, Kung Fu Panda wasn't really doing anything new. And Chop Kick Panda is basically a shorter version, so that definitely isn't. Both films follow clumsy martial arts fans who are chosen to fight the bad guy and stop them from getting hold of an especially powerful artifact. In Kung Fu Panda, Po becomes the dragon and has to fight a snow leopard to stop him from getting the dragon scroll. In Chop Kick Panda, the panda is either called Lou or Zebo. It's not clear what his name is because the film and its box don't seem to be able to agree. He has to stop the dojo master's evil twin tiger from stealing the Amulet of Fury. There was also another one of these called the Little Panda Fighter, but we're less willing to talk about that than we are Lord Voldemort.
Hello? Hello, my name is...
Ooh, you know, I'm gonna hit the pause button right there, because we're all good on Bunny Scout cookies.
Zootopia. Disney have come under fire and under lawsuit many times for stealing the ideas behind their films. The screenwriter Gary Goldman, whose writing credits include Big Trouble in Little China and Total Recall, filed a lawsuit against the House of Mouse alleging that Zootopia was stolen from an idea for a film and TV series he had pitched to them in both 2000 and 2009. His pitch was called Looney, which blended live action with an animation component that was called Zootopia. He claimed that his pitch included story, character sketches, designs, and dialogue. Disney rejected the idea both times, but when Zootopia came out, Goldman said that the film, right down to the title, dialogue, and visual ideas had been taken. Even the story was incredibly similar. Disney's own releases have shown that all of them took a while to get to, from numerous script rewrites to the multiple character redesigns. The case wasn't taken to court because Goldman hadn't provided enough evidence, but he is allowed to refile the lawsuit with more evidence. Disney has had so many lawsuits filed against them over the years that there has to be some truth to some of them, but we doubt we'll ever really know. Cars. Cars follows Lightning McQueen, a famous race car who accidentally ends up stuck in a small town and learns to appreciate life. The film is almost note for note the same story as Doc Hollywood, a film from the early 90s that starred Michael J. Fox as a plastic surgeon who ends up in a small town and learns to appreciate life. Do you see the resemblance yet? Both films follow the same plot. A famous guy accidentally finds himself in a small, off-the-map sort of town. causes an accident, and ends up having to serve some form of community service. Stone had to serve time working at a local hospital, and McQueen had to repave the road he destroyed. Both initially hate it, but as time wears on, they begin to befriend the townsfolk, fall in love with a local girl, and find out that there was more to life than they first thought. Then they leave, go back to their old lives, only to regret it and return. It isn't just us who noticed it either. Plagiarism claims have followed Cars since it first came out. Film critic Simon Kinnear even stated it was just Doc Hollywood with Cars. Inside Out. When Inside Out was released, people were praising its originality. The film followed 11-year-old Riley and the emotions in her head: joy, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear. But if a lawsuit filed in June 2017 is anything to go by, the idea isn't as original as we first believed. A child psychologist named Denise Daniels had a range of characters called the Moodsters, developed from her work with traumatized children, and a range of workbooks and toys which led to a TV pilot. She showed it to Disney and Pixar a few times between 2005 and 2009. The Moodsters were color-coded with yellow for happiness, red for anger, blue for sadness, green for fear, and pink for love. They were meant to live inside of a child's head. A couple of these do match up to the characters in Inside Out. The concept is also pretty similar, and Daniels is suing for failure to compensate her for the idea. Pixar have a slightly different story of how the idea came about, with director Pete Docter saying the idea came from wondering what was going on in his daughter's head as she grew up. So, was Inside Out stolen? The case is still going on, so only time will tell.
Virtually indestructible, but it breathes like Egyptian cotton.
The Incredibles. The Incredibles is one of Pixar's most beloved films, and next year it'll finally be getting a much-deserved sequel after making us all wait for a whole 14 years. It was definitely one of Pixar's more mature films, dealing with themes that weren't really dealt with in kids' movies but were dealt with in comics and graphic novels, like, say, Watchmen. Both take place in worlds where superheroes exist, but due to government intervention are forced to retire after their work is outlawed. In both, we see superheroes be picked off. In The Incredibles, it's by their capes as they fight evil. In Watchmen, it's by a range of much gorier deaths, and there are lawsuits against the heroes in both too. Night Owl and Mr. Incredible struggle with retirement, getting older, out of shape, and disillusioned by civilian life. They come out of retirement to investigate the disappearances of other ex-superheroes. In both cases, this is because of supervillains with no actual powers of their own who believe they're working for the greater good, unleashing giant creatures on the city. Watchmen's Ozymandias builds an alien and Syndrome built a robot, presumably killing thousands of people in the process. So much for a kids' film. Well, after that, we're gonna have to go back and watch a few more of our favorite films to see if we can see any resemblances. Can you think of any films that share a lot of similarities with another? Let us know in the comments section below. Remember to like this video and click the subscribe button for more great content. And the movie emoji was? Did you get it right? Let us know. From us at Screen Rant, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.